what's interesting is we've been chatting for almost an hour.
Oh my goodness!
I know, time flies, but reason I was like, hey, let's sit down and talk, because you were here for the Texas Blockchain Council doing a segment with Amy, and it's always interesting, especially from owning a media company, when you talk to somebody, how you're like she'd be great on camera. She's great, knowledgeable. Like you could tell when somebody's smart. I don't know if you ever, or maybe everybody in your world's smart, but like I'm from not that world. So like when you meet people that are stupid, you're like, yeah, that's normal. And then when you meet somebody who's smart, you're like, oh wow, you're smart. So I was like, hey, let's talk, because I don't really know much about DAOs. And what's funny is we've been planting DAO here, a little DAO here, a little DAO there, but what the hell's a DAO?
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
We should have started there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly.
And that's why I'm like, but you know what? When somebody's passionate, you just let's go with it,
right?
Yeah.
It's well, DAOs are decentralized autonomous organizations, DAO, that's what it stands for. And I think a lot of aspects we've already talked about. It's a group of people that organize around a common interest. It's
not just charity. It could be anything.
Just charity. It could be anything.
Because I know predominantly we've been talking about charities.
Yes.
And I haven't really thought too much about DAOs, but it's just like I've only heard them associated with like a charity or trying to do something in a city or something.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of DAOs actually make a lot of money. Like, and
Really?
what I mean by that is, there's Flamingo DAO. They're just a collection of NFTs, and they just set out to collect very, very valuable NFTs. And what they do is, you invest in the DAO, and you have governance rights, and you have stake in the NFTs collected, and it's just a very interesting. That's called more of a, because there's different kinds of DAOs, so that's more of a collection DAO, and then there's protocols.
But on that though, like, how do you make money?
Oh well.
Or is it you only make money when you sell your rights to the DAO?
And I haven't participated specifically, but a lot of times they have tokens that you can either trade as liquidity, or Moon DAO actually has liquidity tokens. Here, let's start this part over. Like basically, I know you're back there, Sohail. Is that okay?
No, we'll keep it in there. Keep it in there.
Okay.
But I mean, it's fine. It's fine.
No. And the reason why I say that is because if you look at the different kinds of DAOs, most people are familiar with protocols.
Yeah.
So what I mean by protocols, like MakerDAO, Yearn Finance, Compound. And protocol DAOs are different in a way of like they're meant to create money for their membership. They're meant to create money for their community. And so there is expectation of return there. And the governance votes, or the voting of how the protocol should go, is everything from, how much should be paid out to contributors, what is the budget, how much money is going to be kept within the treasury. All of those financial decisions are actually very strongly governed by the community governance tokens. What's interesting is when you start branching off into these other types of DAOs is, like your collection ones, right? Like the example of the NFT DAOs, or they're even, I think what's piqued everyone's interest in DAOs was really things like Constitution DAO, or that's where a group of people just got together on Discord and they're like, let's just buy the United States Constitution that's going to be auctioned at Sotheby's. I know.
They're selling the Constitution?
A copy. And so what happened?
I was like, are things that bad?
No, yeah, right. And so what they did is they actually were able to raise through a platform called Juicebox. Juicebox does treasury work for DAOs. Is what they were able to do was they were actually able to raise $47 million and to try to buy the U.S. Constitution. Just a whole ragtag group of people who were very excited about it, and it took off. The other example I like to use about
Were they able to do it?
They actually weren't. They came close though.
So what happens to that $47 million?
So that's where a lot of the growth comes. Because in DAOs, I'm not going to call it bad or controversy or anything. DAOs will continue to have growing pains because it is a new medium of how to govern. And the reason why I say that is because they did this thing, they raised a lot of money, they had a good idea, and it didn't succeed. So now what? And so with what happened is a lot of people wanted to be reimbursed for what they deposited, but depending on the fluctuations of ETH, it didn't always work out, and what they deposited was going to be able to be refunded to them because you pay gas, you know. And what I mean by that is that being a growing pain is that whoever wanted to reclaim their ETH, they could. Whoever wanted to just keep the it was called the people token. Whoever would just want to keep the people token, they could, you know. And so when I say there's going to be growing pains is because through that people realize like, hey, maybe we should have different systems or wallets or protocols that maybe have lower gas. At the time this happened, ETH was not very expensive, but it was trading much higher than it is right now. You know, so because of that, I think what happened is a lot of people started looking at things like, hey, you know, now there's a system like XDAO or Colony or where you can build on different chains. You know, Aragon is multi-chain. And what I mean by that is like, hey, now I can use things like a Polygon, or now I can use things like AVAX, which are very inexpensive in terms of transactions.
Well, in this example about the 47 million, hey, we're sitting there, like, I understand that because it's DAO, everybody can vote and they can vote what they want to do. But what if they pivoted and were like, hey, let's go buy a building in downtown Dallas or whatever? And then essentially they could, right? They could vote on it to do that?
Yeah, they could vote on it. They could. Well, and it depends how they construct their voting and how they construct their
And where
quorum.
is that money, though? Is that money in Ethereum?
Yeah, it's in a treasury.
Centralized, okay.
Yeah, it's in a treasury. And you can even create protocols where it's like, hey, when it reaches a certain amount, I'm going to exchange it for USDT, you know.
But because, again, that goes to the point of, hey, when they did this, yeah, it was 47 million, but if they still had that money in that DAO now, it's probably worth like what, 15 million?
Yeah, based on the percentage drop.
You know,
yeah.
But so then my brain goes into even more questions, which is, what if they're like, hey, let's go buy this building for $45 million, but the guy selling the building is being nefarious and it's actually only worth 15 million. You know, so then there's all these different. I mean, I understand that's why your due diligence is so important, but
yeah, well, and the thing is I think what you're seeing right now is the growing pains, and that's what I'm talking about is the growing pains. Like, there's a very interesting thing in the financial DAOs that just happened. You know, Mango Finance just, I don't want to necessarily call it, Mango Finance was able to raise a lot of money and provide a lot of good value for people who were staking their funds there. But what ended up happening is somebody was able to actually manipulate the system in a way where they were able to take out all the governance tokens and also drain the treasury. And you can go look up online how it was done. It was like based on like pricing and leveraging a loan and everything like that, and all within seconds of each other. And so because of that, so now there's this person. He's drained the treasury. He or she, I don't know. He or she has drained the treasury of $100 million, and now they own all the governance tokens. You can go look at it. I think it's a fascinating thing. If you were interested in DAOs at all, or any sort of finance DAOs, just please go look at this story, because the hacker and the founders are actually communicating through voting protocols. They're actually, like, the hacker's like, oh, not a hacker, because, I mean, there's all this debate on whether it was a hack or not, because all it was a manipulation of the collateralized loan system that they had set up. And so so that's controversial, and please don't send me hate mail. I don't know, about it if you feel one way or the other.
Give her a call, 555.
And so because of that, what happened is he put up he or she put up the proposal of, hey, I have all your I have $100 million. I don't think I should be held accountable for any wrongdoing. And then the founders are like, hey, we'll bargain with you on this vote, but you have to, because what happens is autonomous and decentralized voting is that once the protocol's in motion, depending on how you set it up, it kind of has to go that way through voting protocols. And so it's kind of like setting something free and it doesn't come back, but you can direct it, but it's not like you can recapture it. So it was very interesting in the way it went, and I encourage people to go look at it because I think everyone just thinks a DAO is an amazing thing and it's hunky-dory, and it's like, I do believe they're amazing entities, and I'm excited about the future and where they're going, but there is going to be a ton of growing pains.
Right. If I wanted to Google that, what should I Google?
I would just do Mango Finance Hack.